Something just cracked open in hip-hop, and it did not happen on a stage, it did not happen on a red carpet, and it did not happen in a courtroom. It happened in a comment section. One tiny thumbs up from 50 Cent, one whispered rumor about Jay-Z, and suddenly the entire industry is holding its breath again. Because if the story you are about to hear is even half true, the Diddy documentary was not the finale. It was the warning shot. And the next name on the wall may already be the biggest name in the room. Let me be very direct with you before we go 1 inch further, because this is the part most people are afraid to say out loud. 50 Cent did not just win a feud. He did not just drop a Netflix show. He flipped an entire decade of silence into 3 Emmy nominations, into a global streaming takeover, and into a shadow that is now hanging over every man who ever stood too close to Sean Combs. And now, quietly, almost surgically, 50 Cent has started liking posts about Jay-Z. He has started reposting pictures of Jay-Z. He has started nodding at fans who keep asking one question in every reply. He is next, isn't he? You need to understand how loud that silence is. 50 Cent is not a man who forgets. He is not a man who moves on. And he is definitely not a man who leaves a chapter open by accident. So when a fan under his post types the words, "My only question, he is next, isn't he?" and the Queen's rapper taps that little heart, you should hear it the way the industry heard it. That was not a like. That was a signature. Before we go deeper, understand the ground we are standing on. Netflix released Sean Combs, The Reckoning. In days it exploded. It hit #1 in 36 countries. It kept climbing in 11 more. Sean Combs' team fired back, calling it a shameful hit piece, calling it stolen footage, calling in lawyers, sending a cease and desist to Netflix. And none of it slowed the wave. Because for the first time, the receipts were not tweets. They were tapes. They were witnesses. They were footage the public had never seen, footage that even Sean Combs, sitting in a cell, did not know was about to see the light of day. And sitting on top of the whole thing, calm, smiling, posting memes, was 50 Cent. Then the Emmys called. Not 1. Not 2. 3 nominations. Outstanding Documentary or Non-Fiction Series. Outstanding Directing. Outstanding Picture Editing. 50 Cent's response was short, and it was cold, and it was surgical. Everybody had something to say when I announced it. Now the Emmys got something to say too. 3 nominations for Sean Combs, The Reckoning. You cannot argue with work. Read that again. You cannot argue with work. That is not a rapper talking. That is a mogul planting a flag. But here is the part almost nobody wants to say out loud. The Diddy chapter is closing, and 50 Cent has already turned the page to something bigger. The question is not whether there's a season 2. The question is whose name is on the cover. Let us walk through the pattern, because the pattern is the whole story. The Queen's mogul goes on national television, sits down with Robin Roberts, and answers a question that everyone in the room already knew the answer to. How close were Sean Combs and Jay-Z? 50 Cent does not blink. He says they were close enough. He describes moments on stage. He describes public statements. He describes the way certain men, in his words, hug you from the front and the back at the same time. He never accuses Jay-Z of anything criminal. He does not have to. He plants the frame, and he lets the audience decorate the walls. Then he goes further. He talks about Chris Lighty's wedding, and he describes a specific conversation with Sean Combs. He describes being told, "I will take you shopping." And he describes looking at Sean Combs and thinking, that is something you say to a woman you're attracted to. Not another man. Not a business partner. A woman. And in that one sentence, 50 Cent tells the audience everything he wants them to feel without ever crossing a legal line. That is not gossip. That is architecture. Now, this is where the story starts to tilt. Because he has spent years telling us there was another name he was watching. He has told us he never went to those parties. He has told us he never wanted to hang around that scene. He has told us that the reason so many celebrities are quiet right now is because so many celebrities were present back then. And he has told us, in his own careful way, that when he looks at the people who stayed silent while all of this was happening, he does not see innocent bystanders. He sees participants. So when 50 Cent starts liking Jay-Z posts, you have to hear it in that full context. This is a man who has already proven he does not bluff. Marlon Wayans found out the hard way. Marlon Wayans sat down for an interview, was asked about the documentary, and gave what he thought was a soft answer. He said he did not think brothers needed to be crawling in public like that. He said he thought it was bad for the culture. He said he did not want to say the name anymore. And he tried to walk away. But by the time the clip hit the internet, the narrative had already been shaped without him. So Marlon Wayans went back on camera and made it plain. He said, "I am not here defending Sean Combs. I am here because somebody asked me a question and I had an opinion." He begged the audience to watch the full clip. He begged them not to be sheep. He said, "Use your brain. It is your freedom of thought. Do not let anybody bully you." And then 50 Cent saw it, and 50 Cent went to work. He turned it into memes. He turned it into posts. He turned one careful interview into another public chapter of a feud that Marlon Wayans never really signed up for. That is what he does. He does not shout you down. He turns you into content. And by the time you realize what happened, your name is trending in a caption you did not write, under a picture you did not approve, next to a punchline you cannot outrun. And here is the detail that says everything about the moment we are in. When the pushback got ugly, when an AI-generated image started floating around showing him in a hot tub with Sean Combs, the mogul did not just clap back. He treated it as proof of something bigger. He treated it as proof that the game had shifted, that the fakes were flying, and that the only thing louder than the truth right now is the panic of the people trying to bury it. Now let us zoom back out, because this is where Jay-Z's name walks back into the frame. For decades, the Queen's rapper and Jay-Z have circled each other. Same industry, same era, same rooms, different lanes. There have been polite moments. There have been quiet stretches. And there have been public jabs that anyone paying attention could hear underneath the surface. 50 Cent has been careful. He has said on record that it is only business, that there is no street beef, that he is just competitive, that he wishes Jay-Z well internally. But then 50 Cent, in the same breath, drops a line that lands like a knife on a table. He says, "When that type of thing happens, I always ask myself what I would do in a situation like that." And then he pauses. And then he says, "I do not know." That is not neutrality. That is a door being left open. And he knows exactly what he is doing when he leaves doors open, because he has been holding the key to this one for a very long time. On national television, 50 Cent walked through a specific memory. He talked about Sean Combs coming on stage. He described a very particular gesture. He described a very particular statement, the one about, "Cannot nobody call me Sean but Sean Cart." He described the version of that same phrase that has been attributed to Jay-Z about Sean Combs. And then 50 Cent, with the smallest smile, added a detail nobody asked for. He said they were so close they had matching white girls. He said they used to check in with each other about it. He said, "So I guess that is a certain type of close." That was not a joke. That was a receipt shaped like a joke. And this is why the rumors of a season 2 are landing so hard. Because 50 Cent has already, in interview after interview, laid the emotional groundwork. He has already told you where he thinks the story goes next. He has already told you which names still live in his notebook. And every time the mogul taps a heart under a Jay-Z post, every time he shares an edited picture and says, "Please stop sending me stuff like this, I am not going to post it," right after posting it, he is telling you the game is still on. Now, here is where I have to be very fair, because this is not a courtroom, and I am not making accusations, and I am not saying that anything is confirmed. There is no official announcement that Jay-Z is the subject of a second season. There is no official confirmation that Netflix has greenlit a follow-up. There is no official statement from 50 Cent naming a target. What there is a pattern. And the pattern is loud. The pattern is a man who spent years telling anyone who would listen that Sean Combs was hiding something, and then delivered a Netflix documentary that shook the streaming charts and picked up 3 Emmy nominations. The pattern is a man who has always operated by planting seeds in public and letting the algorithm water them. The pattern is a man who is now right in front of us, planting a new seed with a new name. And the pattern is a fan base that has already picked up the shovel. You want to know why online speculation is unstoppable right now? It is because his method is not accusation. It is invitation. He does not tell you what to think. He points at the door. And then he watches you open it. That is the entire operation. And it works because he has been right too many times to ignore. Ask yourself the question every hip-hop fan is asking in the comments this week. If Jay-Z's name really does show up in a second season, what does that look like? Because Jay-Z is not just any name. Jay-Z is 30 years of business. Jay-Z is Roc Nation. Jay-Z is billion-dollar valuations. Jay-Z is the man in the room when governors call. Jay-Z is not a rapper with a past. Jay-Z is an institution. And an institution does not fall the same way a mogul falls. It cracks first. And then it collapses in slow motion. You have already seen the cracks. You have seen the lawsuits that briefly attached Jay-Z's name and then were withdrawn. You have seen the online whispers that never quite go away. You have seen the way certain public appearances get read now, frame by frame, second by second, by a public that has been trained to look for the tell. And you have seen the Queen's rapper, quietly, patiently, letting all of it hang in the air without ever confirming it, without ever denying it, and without ever taking it back. That is the trap. That is the design. That is why the algorithm cannot stop feeding this story. Because every new post lands like a puzzle piece, and every fan online is convinced they are almost done building the picture. Now let us bring another name back to the table, because if the second season is not Jay-Z, there is one other name that people believe the mogul has never really finished with. Rick Ross. This is one of the longest-running feuds in the history of the genre. Diss tracks, interviews, social media wars, court filings, nicknames that stuck to the point of legend. Officer Ricky. The endless jokes about the correctional officer photos, the jabs about Turing numbers, the jabs about the mansion, the jabs about the grass, the jabs about the AC. It never stopped. It just went quiet in between rounds. And 50 Cent, being who he is, made sure the quiet never lasted long. He came back after Rick Ross recently, called out the tour numbers, called out the relevance, called out the era. And Rick Ross, being Rick Ross, took the shots and kept moving. But every time these two step back into the same news cycle, the platform lights up. So imagine what happens if the Queen's rapper decides that Season 2 is not about Jay-Z at all. Imagine what happens if Season 2 is about the whole map. The rivalries. The favors. The bodies of work that were built on top of secrets. If that is where the story is going, then Rick Ross is not a footnote. Rick Ross is a chapter. And this is why the anticipation is what it is. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, actually knows which door he walks through next. He could go at Jay-Z. He could go at Rick Ross. He could go at a name nobody has even said out loud yet. And every single one of those doors leads to a completely different earthquake. But let us go back to the moment that started all of this new noise. 50 Cent posted about the Netflix numbers. #1 in 36 countries. Still climbing in 11 more. Then he posted a picture of Jay-Z, an edited fan drawing, and said, "Please stop sending me stuff like this. I am not going to post it." Then, of course, he posted it. And underneath, in the comments, the same phrase kept scrolling. He is next, isn't he? And the mogul, without a word, tapped his little blue thumb on the ones he wanted the world to see. That is not a coincidence. Comment likes from a verified account are not private. They're a signal. And 50 Cent knows the signal. He has been running the signal for 20 years. He was doing it before Instagram. He was doing it with mixtapes. He was doing it with G-Unit Radio. He was doing it before the algorithm even had a name. Now he does it with a thumb, and the algorithm does the rest. Here is what makes this moment feel different, though. This is not 2003. This is not the era where a beef ends with a diss track. This is an era where a beef ends with a Netflix nomination and a federal case. 50 Cent has already proven that a rivalry can become a franchise. He turned power into an empire. He turned street stories into television. He turned an old feud into 3 Emmy nods. So when the mogul starts leaning on the Jay-Z frame, you have to understand what he is really saying. He is not just teasing a beef. He is teasing a business. And this is where the whole industry gets uncomfortable. Because if Jay-Z really is in the crosshairs, we are not just talking about a rap fight. We are talking about a media war between the man who built Roc Nation and the man who now has a Netflix deal, an Emmy-nominated docuseries, and the loudest social media megaphone in hip-hop. That is not a beef anyone in that room actually wants. But the Queen's mogul has never cared about what anybody wants. He cares about what lands. And right now, everything he touches lands. Let us bring in the missing question that fans keep asking. Where are the A-list voices? Where are the people who were in Sean Combs' orbit for 20 years? Why is that room so quiet? He has already answered that, and the answer is the scariest sentence in this entire story. He said the reason so many celebrities have not said anything is because so many celebrities were part of it. He said if he was not saying the things he is saying, there would be nothing being said at all. He said the culture has been protecting the behavior. He did not name names. He did not have to. He just left the room dark and let the audience listen for footsteps. That is why the whispers keep pointing at Jay-Z. Not because there is a confirmed document. Not because there is a leaked email. But because there is a silence. And in a story like this one, silence is the loudest evidence a fan base needs. Now hear this next part carefully, because this is the part almost nobody is framing correctly. 50 Cent is not going after Jay-Z as a person. Not yet. What he is doing is testing the temperature. He is watching how fans react. He is watching how the algorithm rewards a Jay-Z tagged post. He is watching how the media picks up the crumbs. He is doing what he has always done. He is running a public focus group in real time with a global audience on somebody else's dime. And the temperature is telling him the water is warm. Because look at your own timeline. Look at how many videos this week are titled with Curtis Jackson's name and Jay-Z's name and the word next. Look at how many creators are stitching the Robin Roberts interview to the comment, likes to the memes to the AI images to the Emmys. Look at how the story is writing itself. That is not organic. That is engineered. And 50 Cent is the engineer. But here is where I want to slow down and be honest with you. Jay-Z has not been charged with a crime connected to any of this. Jay-Z has denied allegations that have come near his orbit. And Jay-Z has spent decades building a business empire that has, so far, stood every storm the tabloids have thrown at it. So when we talk about a possible season 2 focused on Jay-Z, we are talking about speculation. We are talking about a pattern. We are talking about a public conversation. We are not talking about a verdict. That distinction matters. The moment the internet stops respecting that distinction is the moment the story stops being journalism and becomes noise. That said, the conversation is not going away, and there is a reason it is not going away. There is a reason every clip of the Queen's rapper is being recut. There is a reason every old interview is being pulled back into the feed. There is a reason every fan reply under a Jay-Z post gets 100,000 impressions overnight. It is because the audience has decided that the story is not over. And when the audience decides, the platform follows. So what happens next? Let me give you the 3 most likely paths, and let me tell you why each of them changes the entire game. Path 1. 50 Cent formally announces a second season of the docuseries, and the subject is Jay-Z. If that happens, it is the biggest media event in hip-hop this decade. It reshapes contracts. It reshapes partnerships. It reshapes the way every celebrity in that orbit is publicly discussed. It also invites the biggest legal counterattack the genre has ever seen, and 50 Cent knows it. Path 2. 50 Cent pivots the second season to somebody else entirely. Rick Ross. Or a name nobody has floated in public yet. In this scenario, the Jay-Z rumors were a smokescreen, and the smokescreen was doing its job. Keeping the algorithm hot, keeping subscriptions moving, keeping the pressure on Sean Combs' team while another investigation quietly cooked in the background. Path 3. There is no season 2, and he milks this exact moment, this exact conversation, this exact viral question, all the way to the next Emmy cycle. In that case, the biggest weapon 50 Cent ever built was not a documentary. It was a rumor. And he is still the only man in the room who knows which weapon he is holding. Any one of those 3 paths ends with 50 Cent on top of the pile. That is the part that terrifies the other side of the story. There is no version of this timeline where Sean Combs beats the narrative, and there is no version of this timeline where the silence around him gets any quieter. Every day the documentary streams, every day it sits on the Emmy shortlist, every day 50 Cent posts, the ground gets a little softer under everyone who ever stood too close to that scene. Now here is the part that will keep you up tonight if you let it. Because 50 Cent has said, on camera, that the people who did not speak up were the people who were there. And he has said, on camera, that the culture protected the behavior. And he has said, on camera, that when he starts talking, the room gets quiet because everyone knows he does not talk unless he is ready to move. So when you see him tapping little hearts under Jay-Z posts, do not think of it as a rapper being petty. Think of it as a man taking inventory. 50 Cent has already accepted the word petty. He has said, I will wear that. I will take that. He knows what people call him. He knows what critics say. He knows he is loud. He knows he is theatrical. He knows he lives on social media in a way that most of his peers refuse to. But he also knows that every so-called petty move has, at some point, turned into a headline that made him money, made him relevant, and made his enemies smaller. So when critics tell you the mogul is just being messy, hear it for what it is. That is not messy. That is a business plan wearing a smirk. Look at what he has built. A Netflix docuseries. 3 Emmy nominations. A television empire. A liquor company. A stake in every conversation about the culture. Meanwhile, Sean Combs is sitting in a cell watching his own footage rewrite his own legacy on somebody else's streaming platform. That is the score. That is the final tape. And 50 Cent is running the highlight reel from a private jet. So let us bring it all the way home. What is really happening here is that the Diddy story is not the end of a story. It is a template. And the template is dangerous because it works. Take a mogul. Take a decade of whispers. Add receipts. Add a producer who does not scare. Add a platform with global reach. Add 3 Emmy nods. And suddenly a whisper is a series. Suddenly a rumor is a court exhibit. Suddenly a comment section is a roadmap. Once that template exists, anybody in that orbit is theoretically the next chapter. That is why the industry is holding its breath. That is why the silence is louder than ever. That is why every single time he posts, a group text somewhere lights up. Because everybody in that group text knows the template is now real, and everybody in that group text is doing the same math. Am I in the notebook? Am I in the footage? Am I in the next episode? And the only man who knows the answer is currently on Instagram, drinking a Branson cocktail, liking comments about Jay-Z. Now I want to hand this to you, because this is the part where the audience actually shapes the ending. If there really is a season 2, who do you think it is? Is it Jay-Z, the man whose name has been floating in every rumor cycle this month, whose old clips are being reread by an audience that has been trained to look for the tell, whose empire is big enough to make a season 2 an economic earthquake? Is it Rick Ross, the man whose feud with 50 Cent never fully closed, whose name keeps looping back into the timeline every time the Queen's rapper gets bored, whose story has enough drama to fill a full arc all on its own? Or is it somebody nobody has even guessed yet? A silent name. A quiet participant. A face from the old photos that nobody has zoomed in on yet. Drop your answer in the comments. Do not just say who. Say why. Say what you saw. Say what you noticed. Because right now, this comment section is not a comment section. It is a case file. And whether or not you realize it, 50 Cent is reading. If this video hit for you, do the 3 things that keep this channel independent, keep these deep dives on the front page, and keep the truth loud. Tap that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And turn notifications on, because the second any of this actually gets confirmed, we are back, live, breaking it down before the timeline can spin it. Share this with the friend who told you Sean Combs was untouchable. Send it to the friend who told you 50 Cent was finished. And tell them, gently, respectfully, but firmly, that they were wrong on both counts. Because the story is not over. The story just changed producers. And the next episode is already being written, one comment like at a time. We will see you in the next one.